The Eyrie, the seat of House Arryn, rulers of the Vale, and one of the oldest castles in Westeros. Its founding stretches back nearly 6,000 years to King Roland I Arryn, following his defeat of the First Men around 6000 BC, though legend credits Sir Artus Arryn, said to have flown giant falcons to the peak before laying the first stones. Whichever account holds, by Aegon's conquest, it had already been in position for centuries. It sits on a shoulder of the Giant's Lance, the Vale's tallest mountain, a choice that made hauling materials nearly impossible, and led to the castle's more modest scale. 7 slender towers of pale white stone, capacity for no more than 500 men, with no stables, forges, or storerooms. These shortcomings forced the Arryns to abandon it every winter, retreating to the Gates of the Moon at the mountain's base. Despite being the smallest of the great castles, the Eyrie has never been taken. That's because size was never its defense. The mountain was. The only approach winds upward through 3-way castles, stone, snow, and sky, each a choke point that must be passed before the next can be reached. Even then, the final stretch is not a road at all, but a ladder-like chimney cut into the rock, with handholds carved into the mountainside. Guests and supplies are instead hauled up in wicker baskets, and 6 great oaken buckets hung from iron chains, worked by ox-driven winches. The saying exists for good reason: only a bird can get to the Eyrie uninvited. Inside, the castle is more palace than fortress, featuring blue tapestries, balconies, a godswood garden, and the high hall at its center with sweeping views over the Vale. But its most notorious features are darker by design. The moon door, reimagined in the show as a round floor hatch, drops the condemned many hundreds of feet onto the rocks below. The sky cells are open-air chambers with sloped floors, where a sleeping prisoner risks rolling to their death. Tyrion's stay in a sky cell during Season 1 gave viewers their most direct look at how unsettling these chambers were. And for more deep lore, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The TV series redesigned the castle as a squatter structure on a natural stone arch, departing from the book's slender towers. Throughout the series, despite holding the title, Robin Arryn did not rule the castle in practice. Lysa ruled as regent until Season 4, after which Peter Baelish kept Robin as a figurehead, until his execution at Winterfell in Season 7. By the finale, the Eyrie is back in Arryn hands, with a grown-up Robin sitting at the Great Council of 305 AC. Riverrun is the ancestral seat of House Tully and the seat of the Lords Paramount of the Riverlands. Sitting at the confluence of the Red Fork of the Trident and the Tumblestone, it commands the River Road, the key east-west trade route across the Riverlands. The castle dates back to the Age of Andals, when Lord Axel Tully raised the first Riverrun during the Andal invasions. Unlike most great houses, the Tullys were never kings. Harrenhal and his ancestors had long dominated the Riverlands. Their elevation came during Aegon's conquest, when Lord Edmund Tully became the first Riverlord to declare for Aegon, and was rewarded with overlordship of the Trident. Riverrun has been the seat of the Lords Paramount ever since. Built from red sandstone, the castle takes a triangular form, matching the shape of the land it occupies. Modest by Westerosi standards, roughly 1/10 the scale of Harrenhal, its walls are high and lined with archers' positions commanding the opposite shores. Again, this is another castle where strategic positioning is prioritized over size. Flanked by rivers on its north and south sides, the western face features an artificial channel controlled by a sluice gate. When flooded, Riverrun becomes an island, funneling any land-based attacker into a single, narrow approach. During the Season 6 siege, the rivers forced the Lannister and Frey armies into separate, disconnected camps, preventing them from encircling the castle. The Watergate reinforces it further, an iron portcullis set into the riverside wall, accessible only by boat, which serves as a resupply channel when under siege. Inside, the keep mirrors the triangular footprint, centered on a great hall seating 500, hung with Tully banners, and notably containing a godswood, despite the Tullys following the faith of the Seven. Riverrun held through most of the War of the Five Kings, until the Red Wedding broke the Tully cause. It fell not by assault, but by Jaime Lannister compelling Edmure to open the gates from within. House Frey took possession briefly, before Arya Stark wiped them out in 303 AC. By the finale, Edmure sits at the Great Council, alive, with Riverrun back in Tully hands, and the line continuing. The twins. The historical seat of House Frey and a strategically vital checkpoint in the Riverlands, these are two identical castles sitting on opposite banks of the Green Fork River, linked by a covered stone bridge, and the most convenient major crossing in that stretch of the Green Fork. For 6 centuries, House Frey controlled the movement of armies across the Riverlands and never failed to extract their toll, as Season 1 proved. Around 300 years before Aegon's conquest, a minor Frey lord built a wooden bridge over the Green Fork, where no fixed crossing had existed. It was eventually replaced in stone, taking multiple Frey generations to complete both the bridge and the twin keeps guarding it. From their castle, they charged every traveler, merchant, and army that needed to cross, and as a result, House Frey rose from minor nobility to one of the wealthiest houses in the Riverlands. The 2 keeps are large and square, with thick, high curtain walls, a deep moat on each landward side, and stout towers at the river's edge. The bridge connecting them is sturdy enough to carry an entire army. Midway across sits the Water Tower, a fortified structure in the middle of the Green Fork, serving as the primary gatehouse and original toll point. The bridge has multiple gatehouses depicted in Season 3 as characters pass through gate after gate. Both castles are further equipped with drawbridges, arrow slits, and scorpions on the battlements for firing on water approaches. An attacker cannot assault one castle without drawing fire from the other, as Catelyn Stark warns in Season 1. Despite these fearsome defenses, the twins' most significant moment came not in battle, but at a feast in the Great Hall. At the Red Wedding in 299 AC, Walder Frey ambushed and killed Robb Stark, Catelyn, and many others. This ended the Northern cause and delivered the Riverlands to Lannister control. That dominance, however, did not last. Arya Stark got her revenge and killed Walder and the male heads of House Frey in a single night, ending their line and their grip on the crossing. Leave a like if you think Walder had it coming. With Edmure Tully reinstated by the finale, House Tully likely assumes control of the crossing. The Dreadfort. Dating back to the Age of Heroes, this is one of the oldest castles in Westeros. It is the seat of House Bolton, who were known as the Red Kings of the Dreadfort back in those days. And theirs was the one name in the north that even the Starks feared. Geographically, it is in the far northeast, in a bleak stretch of country between the lonely hills and the lands of Carhold and Lasthearth. Sitting on the banks of the Weeping Water amid lonely, foggy hills, it has projected dread for thousands of years. The Boltons were notorious for flaying their enemies and hanging their skins inside the castle. This practice was so ingrained that the flayed man became their sigil, accompanied by the words, "Our blades are sharp." No banner in the north struck more fear into small folk than theirs. Weathered and darkened by age and soot, its battlements are lined with jagged triangular merlons that add to its intimidating profile. Compact and sturdy, every element is functional and foreboding. There is no elaborate beauty here. Inside, dark dungeons and torture chambers run beneath the castle, where Theon Greyjoy endures prolonged captivity during Season 3, alongside the kennels housing Ramsay's notorious pack of female hunting hounds known as the Bastard's Girls. The Great Hall is dim and smoky, lit by torches held in skeletal human hands that jut from the walls. The castle's entire character, its design, its decor, was engineered to inspire fear before a Bolton sword was ever drawn. House Bolton's rise culminated in Roose Bolton orchestrating the Red Wedding in 30x AC, earning him the title of Warden of the North from the Lannisters. His son Ramsay ruled the North through terror until he was defeated and fed to his own hounds at the Battle of the Bastards in 303 AC. Horn Hill is the ancestral seat of House Tarly, one of the most formidable military families in the Reach. Positioned in the foothills of the Red Mountains along the Dornish marches, it sits at the frontier between the Reach and Dorne, a border the Tarleys have guarded for centuries. The castle reflects its house, proud, orderly, and built for purpose over prestige. House Tarly is an ancient First Men house, originally in service to the Gardner Kings, and later the Tyrells. Their words, first in battle, and their sigil, a striding red huntsman on green, reflect an identity built on martial excellence. True to that reputation, Horn Hill is all about strength, not elegance. It sits atop a prominent hill, from which it takes its name, ringed by thick woodland, with a lake at its base. Its stone walls are visible from a distance, reached by a single winding road up the slope. While nowhere near as grand as Highgarden, it's one of the Reach's most reliable border strongholds. While Hornhill's defense-first principle shapes every element, the Great Hall is where the castle's character becomes most visible. Tapestries and Tarly banners lining the walls, and Heartsbane, the family's Valyrian steel sword, mounted prominently. The Season 6 dinner is the castle's defining moment on screen. Randall sits at the head of the table, with Heartsbane behind him. Across from him is Sam, a maester's recruit who has chosen the Night's Watch over a soldier's life. Father and son representing two irreconcilable ideas of the Tarly name. When Sam leaves, he takes Heartsbane. Disowned by the father, the son walks out with the one thing that mattered most to him. Hornhill survives the War of the Five Kings intact, though not without some bloodshed first. In Season 7, Randall sides with the Lannisters after the Tyrells fall. When he refuses to bend the knee, Daenerys executes both him and Dickon, leaving Sam as the head of House Tarly. However, he never returns to his family seat, and his appointment as Grand Maester in 305 AC precludes lordship, the claim likely passing to his mother or sister Tala. Starfall is the ancestral seat of House Dane, one of the oldest families in Dorne. Its name can be traced back a few thousand years to a meteor, the fallen star, that struck the site, giving the castle its foundation and the family its identity. From that meteor, the Danes forged Dawn, one of the most iconic blades in Westeros, and the sword of Sir Arthur, often celebrated as the greatest knight who ever lived. While there is no recorded founding date, the meteor impact is believed to predate most of Westerosi recorded history. The castle sits at the mouth of the Torrentine River on the Dornish coast, in the shadow of the Red Mountains and within reach of Old Town. The castle's surrounding waters are notoriously dangerous. Fast-moving tides and unpredictable currents make it exceptionally difficult to approach by sea. Although natural defenses do a lot of the heavy lifting, the castle has man-made defenses too. A gatehouse controls access to the land, while a key handles river and coastal movement, both serving as chokepoints. The standout feature is the Palestone sword, a towering sword-like stone structure and one of the tallest landmarks in Dorne. Inside the castle, a special Dawn vault securely holds the blade when not in use, reflecting its priceless value to the Danes. Starfall also carries a grim history. After Ned Stark defeated Arthur Dayne at the Tower of Joy in 283 AC, he returned Dawn to his sister, Ashara. She threw herself from the Palestone sword and into the sea upon learning of her brother's death. Starfall's gravest test came during the First Dornish War in 10 AC, when Joffrey Dayne marched from its gates toward Old Town. When his forces faltered, Queen Visenya flew Vhagar directly to Starfall and burned it. The Danes rebuilt, preserving the Palestone character and the Palestone sword. The show offers almost nothing on Starfall, although Arya names it in Season 2 and Davos references its lord in Season 5. Brief mentions that confirm its existence without ever depicting it. Should the show have given us a proper look at this incredible castle? Let us know what you think in the comments. Castamere. This ruined Westerland castle is one of the most notorious in Westerosi history. It was the seat of House Rayne, once a powerful rival to the Lannisters, and at its peak, it stood as one of the great holds of the region. Today, nothing remains but flooded tunnels and a song. Its destruction announced what kind of man Tywin Lannister was, and the song it inspired, The Rains of Castamere, became shorthand for what happens to those who cross his family. The castle takes its name from a nearby pool and, like Casterly Rock, began as a mine during the Age of Heroes. Over time, it evolved, growing into a fortress across generations. By 55 AC, it had grown prestigious enough to feature on King Jaehaerys I's royal tour of Westeros. Unlike a conventional castle, Castamere's true expanse was hidden beneath the surface. Above ground, curtain walls and towers guarded the entrance. Below, its halls stretched deep into the mountain itself, forming a vast subterranean network of tunnels and galleries. The same pool that gave the castle its name also fed the stream that supplied its water. Castamere was self-sufficient by design, but entirely dependent on those passages remaining open. Castamere's destruction began with an unpaid debt. Roger Rayne and his sister Ellen were among the lords who borrowed from Tywin's father, Tytos, and never repaid him. When Tywin called in those debts, the Rains refused and rebelled. In 261 AC, he killed Ellen at Tarbeck Hall and pursued Roger back to Castamere. Roger demanded safe surrender for everyone inside. Tywin's response was to seal the entrances with stone, dam the pool stream, and divert it directly into the mines. Lords, soldiers, women, children, all drowned in the halls they had built. This brutal history inspired the song The Rains of Castamere, which plays during the Red Wedding in Season 3. As the massacre unfolds, it serves as a reminder, what happened to the Rains can happen to anyone. Pyke. The ancestral seat of House Greyjoy and the seat of power for the Iron Islands, Pyke is one of the most unusual, distinctive strongholds in Westeros. It sits on the shore of the island of Pyke, facing the open waters of the Great Sea. But describing it as a castle on a cliff undersells it a bit. Pyke is the cliff from which House Greyjoy has ruled the Iron Islands since Aegon's conquest. The original structure was built on a massive headland jutting into the sea. Over thousands of years, the ocean wore away the base, turning the headland into scattered sea stacks. The castle stood on whatever rock was left. What stands today is split across multiple stacks, all separated by crashing waves. The stone is the same gray-black basalt as the islands themselves, salt-weathered and lichen-covered. The exception is the South Tower, which was rebuilt in paler stone after collapsing under bombardment during the Greyjoy Rebellion. Pyke's defining defensive feature is its fragmented layout. To access any part of the castle, one must cross narrow rope and stone bridges suspended high above the surf, swaying, exposed, offering no cover. Any force attempting to move through in numbers does so at enormous risk. The Great Keep connects to the main island via a high stone bridge. This structure houses the main hall and the sea stone chair, the ancient black stone seat briefly seen when Euron gathers the Ironborn in Season 6. The Bloody Keep stands on its own stack, linked to the Great Keep by a covered walkway, while the Kitchen Keep occupies a separate stack entirely. The castle's most significant military test came during the Greyjoy Rebellion around 289 AC, when Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark laid siege to it with the full force of the Iron Throne. This led to the collapse of the South Tower, killing Meryn in the process. Robert's forces eventually breached the castle, leading to Balon's surrender. The bridge scene in Season 6 is the castle's most dramatic on-screen moment. On a stormy night, Balon crosses one of Pyke's high-rope bridges and meets his exiled brother Euron, only to be thrown onto the rocks below. Following Balon's death, a king's moot on Old Wick crowned Euron over Yara's claim. In Season 7, Euron allied with Cersei, leaving the Iron Islands vulnerable. Yara retook Pyke in his absence. After Euron's death during the Battle of King's Landing, Yara's position was secured. In the finale, she attends the Great Council in 305 AC as Lady of the Iron Islands. Pyke ends the series as it started, in Greyjoy hands. We still have much more to cover from Game of Thrones, so hit that subscribe button, stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next videos.